Hi everyone, and welcome once again to EDPS 502. This time we're in Module 6, Social Cognitive Learning. Social cognitive learning is perhaps exemplified in the cartoon. The two children are saying, "Oh my gosh, Lucy, you are so stupid." "I am not. You are stupider than a pile of rocks." At which point the parents, of course, yell, "Kids, why are you screeching at each other? Your father and I raised you better than that. Stop this foolishness this instant." Child replies, "We always hear you two yelling at each other. We figured we could too." "Yeah, what he said." "Honey, we created these monsters." Well, perhaps they did. Let's move on. Let's see. Oh, my head's in the way again. All right. Come on, there we go. There's lots of different ways to define social learning. Some people define social learning as basically any kind of learning that happens outside of a school situation. And so sometimes when you hear the term being used, that's what they mean. And here they're talking about tribal wisdom is another term, tacit knowledge, social knowledge, all the kinds of things that we sort of pick up along the way without being explicitly taught. For example, children in most cases, learn how to pick up a telephone or turn on the television without ever having a lesson plan designed to teach them those skills. But the social learning that we're going to be talking about primarily in this unit is based on the work of Albert Bandura. Bandura looked at behaviorism and basically said it just can't be that simple. It doesn't account for all kinds of learning. And he watched the learning going on around him and believed that a lot of learning was happening when individuals observed other individuals. And so he thought, modeling is different than stimulus response. And so let's see what a theory based on that might look like. And Bandura's social learning theory looks at interactions among three different things. Behavior, that is the things that individuals do. Personal factors, things that are unique to each individual. And the environment around them. And notice that all of these things interact with everything. Behavior affects the environment, and behavior is affected by the environment. Personal factors affect behavior, and behavior changes our personal factors. Personal factors affect the environment affects those. It's not a one-way circle. Everything interacts with everything else. One of the most famous things that Bandura did was his Bobo doll experiment. I actually remember my younger brother having a doll that looked very much like this. Scared me a lot if I would come up to it in the dark because it would move and be really scary. But in any case, you may have heard of the Bobo doll experiment. Whether you have or have not, it is very, very interesting to watch video of the experiment in progress, and you're going to get to do a little bit of that this week. The idea of social learning continues to develop because what is social these days has changed. It used to be that social learning had to do with people who were within our physical environment, our families, our teachers, our neighbors, our friends. But these days we learn a lot from the social media and other kinds of electronic technologies. And so another thing that you will sometimes find when you're reading about the term social learning is information about the ways that our social networks are growing and changing and the ways we can access that kind of social learning for our students in broader and broader ways. And finally, I just wanted to point out to you, although we don't have specific content about this in this module, I thought it fit well here. One of the most interesting things I've read recently is Mary Helen Imordino Yang's book, Emotions, Learning, and the Brain. Dr. Imordino Yang is a former teacher who became a neuroscientist, which is not a very usual career path. She wanted to know more about why and how the students in classrooms are learning. And she brings a really unique perspective because she can look with both sets of eyes. And one of the things she found is that there are very specific neural connections that are associated with emotions and with learning. And that when our students are in our classrooms, it's not just a matter of cognition, that we need to be attentive to the ways emotions are operating in our classrooms, or we're not going to be able to affect their learning in the ways that we hope. And I thought I would put this idea here, both just to introduce you to the book because I think it's interesting, but also because the social dynamic in our classrooms is not just a matter of whether students are nice to each other or not, or whether you as the teacher are nice to your students or not, so to say. The social dynamic in a classroom affects students' experiences, it affects their emotions, and as a consequence, it literally physically impacts their learning. And so it's really important to think about. Let's take a quick look at our module for the week. Here we go. We have module 6. We have an introduction. We have readings. We have this just fascinating video of the Bobo doll experiment. I frankly think it's fascinating and profoundly disturbing, but wait and see what you think about it. You've got some more readings. Your application project has to do obviously with social learning theory and applying some of the things we have here. And you're going to have conference D. Notice that you'll have the same small groups this week, but you'll have a different leader. The person who is alphabetically second in line will be in charge this time. And that means you will be in charge as the leader, both to make sure that your conference gets set up and to lead the discussion. If you have questions or problems with any of this, don't hesitate to contact me. I look forward to talking to you soon. Enjoy the unit. Bye-bye.